It has been 54 days since the Trump regime came into power. Is that right? It seems longer for some reason. So let's review how the last week has gone, which is one of my favorite things to do on this new episode of Trump Trolls Trump. You know, the one where somebody named Trump completely mocks another person who just happens to have the same name as I do. Some jerk actually has my name and is going around using it. It offends me. I'm not mentioning, well, I did mention names, didn't I? Yeah, so you know who I'm talking about. So before we get started, I mean, I think I just did start. But anyway, if you remember Monday, yeah, it's the first weekday of every new week. It's hard to remember that because it seems like several geological epochs ago. But I want to show you this clip as a reminder of just what a bang Donald's week started with. Play the clip.
We continue to follow this news of the markets closing and clocking in the worst day of the year so far. Tumultuous day on Wall Street. The Dow falling, as you see there, about 890 points, or down a little more than 2% since the start of the day. It was the worst day for NASDAQ since 2022, falling almost 9,000 points, or about 4.7%. President Trump on Sunday was non-committal about whether his policies will push us into a recession and said it would be a period of transition.
Well, he's non-committal because he's stupid, and he's what you think he's going to take responsibility for that. Of course, though, there's more to it. The stock market is one of those very few metrics by which Donald measures his actual self-worth. How is that possible, you might ask? Well, the truth of the matter is he doesn't have any self-worth, so he has to come up with all these external ways to construct self-worth for himself. And that's very difficult to do when one of the main metrics by which you measure said self-worth is in negative territory. Uh-oh. In the last 3 weeks, just to add some salt to the wound, the stock market has lost $5 trillion in value. And most economists attribute Donald's unilateral and unprovoked trade war as one of the principal reasons. Let me correct myself. It is not unilateral anymore. Because it was in the first place taking our allies by surprise, and because they are not Senate Democrats, they're fighting back. But over at Newsmax, do we know any of this is happening? No. Why? Because, well, they want to reassure you over at Newsmax that what you're watching happen is not happening. Watch this.
Since last July, I was talking about a correction that would happen in early 2025. So this correction is overdue. Nothing to do with Trump, nothing to do with tariffs. It's a market correction, and I still think we have room to run to the downside. I would be very hesitant to touch anything tech right now.
Oh wow! When I see appearances like that on programs, I think, okay, is there a number somebody could pay me to make me lie so blatantly and in such a harmful way to people who are relying upon me to provide them with an accurate professional opinion? And the answer is no. So it's really fascinating to me that there are so many people in this world who have a price. And by fascinating, I mean really demoralizing. But again, this is really going to get under Donald's skin, and it's really having a huge impact on the only people he cares about, which would be, CEOs of tech companies and automobile companies. See, Donald knows the stock market. He's told us time and time again just how well he knows the stock market. He campaigned all through the election on his belief that it's he who causes the market to rise or fall. Remember?
Many people say that the only reason the stock market is up is because people think I am going to win. Stock market's going up. Scott Bessent, some of the smartest analysts on Wall Street said it's only going up for one reason, because Trump's leading in the polls and everyone thinks Trump's going to be president. They think Trump's going to win the election, that's why it's going up. I think the stock market's going up because I'm leading Biden in all of the polls. I think there will be a crash if I don't win. Did you see that? Their stock market crashed when we won. If Harris wins this election, you will quickly have a Kamala economic crash. You're going to have a crash. If we lose, you're going to have a crash like you wouldn't believe. Now, here's the bad news. They say if he doesn't win, you're going to end up in a depression. Wow. Wait till you see that. It'll be a 1929 style economic depression.
The Biden team can say, well, if things are so bad, how come the stock market's on a roll?
Because they think I'm going to be elected.
That you think the stock market's rallying because people think you're...
I do, yeah.
He really needs to stop taking my name in vain. It's insulting. Okay. There are a couple of things here. First of all, anybody who talks about themselves in the third person needs to go away. Secondly, is it always opposite day in his little head? Because we are heading for a 1929 style depression. He is out hoovering Herbert Hoover here. We are sliding into the, we are, I've been saying for a while, we're at a slippery slope and we're more than halfway down it. No, it's a cliff. It is a cliff. And we may find out what's at the bottom of it, and I don't believe it's going to be pleasant. However, let's leave open this. This is an awful idea, but I want you to leave open the possibility that this is actually purposeful. What do I mean? Okay, as I mentioned, the stock market is very important to Donald. Are there any reasons why he would be okay with tanking it on purpose? He and my grandfather had a long history of stock manipulation. They actually got into trouble for it a couple times. For example, they would make an announcement about whether they were going to buy a lot of stocks in a company or buy a company or something like that. And then the stock would go up and they'd sell their shares. And then they would make the opposite announcement and stocks would go down and they would buy shares or what have you. That kind of thing. Shorting stocks. It's something that he's familiar with. And even though he's losing what's left of his little mind, that's something he did many, many, many years ago for a very long time. So it's probably ingrained. And he also has a lot of help in these matters. So let's just like flag that and keep an eye on what's going on. So if Donald isn't to blame, even though there's so much direct evidence in front of our lying eyes, who could possibly be behind all of this? And now for this week's segment, take it or leave it. I give you our execrable White House secretary to explain what the hell is going on here, because she's going to tell the truth about it.
We see today, the numbers we saw yesterday, the numbers we'll see tomorrow are a snapshot of a moment in time. And as President Trump has said, and I'm here to echo the remarks of this president of this White House, we are in a period of economic transition. We are in a period of transition from the mess that was created under Joe Biden in the previous administration. Joe Biden left this country in an economic disaster.
Yes, an economic disaster, which unemployment rates were lower than they were worldwide. Inflation rates were lower than they were worldwide. Yes, it was the horrors of Joe Biden's administration that saved us from the abyss Donald Trump drove this country into. Oh, well. Just everything this woman says is a lie. All of that aside, it's very difficult to square what's going on right now with the very strong economy Donald Trump inherited. Difficult as in impossible because it's nonsensical and irrational. Oh, wait, I just totally described Donald's whole regime. Oh, and cruel. I forgot cruel. Anyway, before we go further, please like and share this video. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to our channel because we are pushing to get to 350,000 subscribers as soon as humanly possible. And every little bit helps. As independent media, your support helps us reach more people so we can keep growing this together. Sometimes there's a man. I'm not going to call this person a hero because what is a hero, right? This country heroizes everybody. There are baseball players with high batting averages whom people call heroes. But then sometimes there's a man who bears the weight of the world on his shoulders. Somebody who stands up against injustice and always fights for what's right, no matter the sacrifices, no matter the circumstances. Who is this man, you may ask? Let's watch.
110 subpoenas in the last 7 years. Those are ones that I've received personally. 110 subpoenas in 7 years. I've never gotten so much as a traffic ticket. We're a good family. Never done anything wrong.
How can he withstand the slings and arrows of his outrageous misfortune? 100 and whatever subpoenas. It is so awful, finally, to suffer the consequences of your criminal activities. I mean, it's not really a Trump thing, to be honest. We like to get away with shit. I mean, not me, obviously, but they do. And it just isn't fair. What do you mean I'm getting subpoenaed for committing business fraud to the tune of hundreds of millions of dollars? How dare you? My last name is Trump. I'm invincible. And above all of this, well, the truth of the matter is, Eric, your father is, thanks to the corrupt, illegitimate supermajority of the Supreme Court, but you're not. And that is something that we should probably all appreciate. I mean, we have to appreciate what we can, right? And that little whiny baby who slaughters innocent animals on a regular basis, yeah, I think there's something coming his way in the terms of accountability, or at least there should be. So the unconstitutional slashing and gutting of the federal government by DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency, the illegal and unconstitutional and fictional agency that Elon Musk is using to run rampant through our federal government and agencies, does not go by without a little bit of backlash. We've seen Tesla boycotts. There have been protests across the world. And now it appears that the stock value of Tesla has been cut in half. Has been cut in half. That's a seriously staggering drop of $800 billion in just a matter of weeks. But the man who apparently never sleeps and allegedly takes too much, what do you mean? He admits to that, right? I don't think that's an allegedly thing. But let's say allegedly anyway. Apparently has time to respond to these crises and still run his other companies, right? Like a responsible steward would. Because obviously his business, his responsibilities to his shareholders and his boards, that's what really matters to Elon Musk. So here's what Musk told Larry Kudlow earlier this week.
I mean, really, I just don't want America to go bankrupt.
So it's a call to action. You're hearing a call to action.
Yeah.
You giving up your other stuff? I mean, how are you running your other businesses?
With great difficulty. Yeah, I mean.
But there's no turning back, you're saying.
I'm just here trying to make government more efficient.
He is sleepy. But suck it up. What does that thing Republicans say? Fascist Republicans in particular. You can sleep when you're dead. Only whiny baby men need sleep. It's not like an essential biological function. It's not like sleep deprivation causes psychosis or anything. Right? It's fine. Also, clearly he's struggling. I mean, I don't care. Good. But the idea that this megalomaniacal psychopath has taken it upon himself to fix our government and keep the United States of America from going bankrupt is kind of fascinating, especially considering what he's doing. Every single thing he's doing is making America go bankrupt. Well done, Elon. It's such a pleasure. And go away, because we hate you. Okay, so I have a great idea that will likely cheer everybody up, because we could use a little bit of that. I think we should have a car sale. One that's going to kind of catch on and be seen around the world. And I think it should be on the front lawn of the People's House. No, that is not what we should be doing at all. This is offensive, Because after Elon's bad week, what did his minion and his charge? What did his charge do to help Elon out of the very, very deep hole he's digging himself into? Well, he decided to help him sell some cars. Again, on the front lawn of the People's House. All the popular models were available at incredible prices. Like Donald actually had a list. He had a list of the prices that somebody else wrote for him. We had the swastika car, the cluster truck. That's my favorite because it's so pretty. But let's watch Donald's excitement when he I mean, I'm actually a little shocked that he knows how to get behind the wheel of a car. But well done. Watch his excitement as he gets behind. He's partial to like 18 wheelers because he's such a manly man. But watch him get behind the wheel of the car he'll never drive and certainly did not pay for.
That's beautiful. This is a different panel than I've had. Everything's computer. That's beautiful. Wow.
Sorry, I'm so alarmed right now that these are the two most powerful people in the country and maybe the planet. What have we done? My God. By the way, I once had the great misfortune of having to drive a Tesla. It's horrible. It's like the worst car I've ever driven in my life. It's aesthetically grotesque, and it is the least user-friendly vehicle. Where am I from? Vehicle I've ever driven. Long story. It did not end well. The two times I was forced to drive that car. So that will never happen again. Don will never drive it. He can't even get behind the wheel of it. So I think the rest of us are safe. Like, we would be better off if he put it in self-driving mode and slept in the backseat. Anyway, the prospect of getting such a great deal in Tesla. Hey, the cheapest model, talk about bargains. The cheapest model, $35,000, only $35,000. Can you imagine? What a bargain. These people actually think that that is a low price for a car in America. Are you out of your minds? Do you know how few people can afford to buy a $35,000 car, especially in Donald Trump's America? They just know nothing and they care nothing about what actual people deal with on a daily basis. I'd say it's stunning, but it's really not. What's stunning to me is that other people don't see that or didn't until now because, hey, we're just at the beginning of the finding out phase. So I am a vegetarian, so this is not something that ever happens to me, but it used to. I was pretty carnivorous. I was a Trump after all, as a child. We were a carnivorous people. That's a story for another time. It's not a particularly pleasant one, but it's kind of funny. Anyway, you go to a nice restaurant. If you're not me, you order a steak. And one of the first questions you're going to want to ask the waiter is, can you please ask the chef? Because I'm not entirely sure I want to order this steak. Was this steak cooked in liberal tears? Because that is literally the only way. It has to be marinated in liberal tears. I mean, when I sort of like the red wine marinade, but liberal tears. Beautiful thing. Well, I think that's a common occurrence, especially in states like Texas, where Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, who is a complete and utter moron, is fighting back against the libs in order to rename the New York strip steak. I hope you're sitting down. The Texas strip. Like, does it come with a pole? Take a look.
A political beef is heating up between the Lone Star and Empire States. Texas Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick wants the state to officially rename the New York strip steak the Texas strip steak to cement his state's status as the cattle capital of America. Patrick says he began to ponder why it isn't called the Texas Strip when New York has mostly dairy cows, after a visit to the Texas Cattle Feeders and Cattle Raisers Association to promote the state's more than 12 million cattle, the most in the nation, adding, quote, "Liberal New York shouldn't get credit for our hardworking ranchers," end quote. The lieutenant governor says he drew inspiration from President Donald Trump's rebrand of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America, saying he may, quote, "take a short cruise across the Gulf of America and have a juicy, medium-rare Texas strip," end quote.
Taxpayers pay that guy's salary. You know, I, for a brief second, thought, let me Google, why is it called the New York Strip State? And I was like, you know what? My time is valuable. What is going on here? I don't care. That's what it's called. Just like it's called the Gulf of Mexico. Just like they're called French fries, not freedom fries, you stupid, immature idiots. We're being run by a bunch of prepubescent boys who think that a fun time is to be had by like throwing spitballs at each other. What the fuck is wrong with us? Like, if you are not dying of embarrassment right now, I don't know what to tell you. That shit costs money. Seriously. Like, that's a campaign he's going to spend taxpayers' money on. Ay vey, as we say. Anyway, Republicans are continuing to embarrass and humiliate themselves, and they have been warned now because of a very embarrassing streak of town halls. They have been warned not to hold any more in-person town halls. Why? Because they don't really want to hear from their constituents when their constituents are really angry with them for doing horrible things to them and to our country. Like, the response videos have been going completely viral. Chuck Edwards of North Carolina braved the political storm, though. I think he wasn't being brave. I think he's just stupid and didn't understand the assignment. And he met with his constituents on Thursday night. So let's see how that went.
Republican lawmakers continue to face backlash across the country from people they represent. Chuck Edwards represents North Carolina's 11th district. He hosted a packed live town hall at Ferguson Auditorium at Asheville Buncombe Tech. Representative Edwards took pre-written questions before moving into a live Q&A segment with the audience.
I was proud to vote recently for the House budget resolution, which provides the framework. You should also know that those employees and folks that serve with DOGE have gone through the same exact security screens as everyone else. So,
yeah. After the town hall, Edwards made his way outside only to be greeted by a large crowd of protesters with signs. Many of them were surrounding his vehicle, refusing to let him leave.
The message to Chuck is that it seems like Trump has a power hold over the GOP right now, and no one is standing up, none of the Republicans are standing up and saying, this isn't what my constituents really want.
Well, they don't care what you want. They only care what Donald wants. They are entirely on board with the Trump regime's fascist agenda. You know, we're finding out now, those of us who weren't paying enough attention. I'm pretty sure that Edwards has got the memo now, and that will be the last town hall that idiot ever holds. Why? Because, again, he doesn't really care what his constituents think. In fact, a veteran was taken out by police officers, which is the best use of their time, arresting, or I don't know if he got arrested, but, booting peaceful protesters out of a town hall being held by a duly elected representative of the United States of America. Yeah, that's how they should be spending their time. A veteran of the United States of America was dragged out by the police because he was making his voice heard. And Edwards, like most of his Republican colleagues, including especially Donald Trump, is a thin-skinned baby. Before I wrap up, I want to check one last time to see how Republicans are handling Elon Musk's takeover of their duly granted constitutional powers. Like, how are they, standing up? Let's see what North Dakota Senator Kevin Cramer has to say.
To the point about Elon, it's one more illustration of what a good guy he is. And people who don't like Elon have never met Elon Musk. I mean, he is truly one of the most gentle creatures and sweet men, really, that you've been around. Now, he's exceptional in so many ways. It's hard, not to see him as something different than the rest of us, because he is different than the rest of us.
Oh, so that's going well. Yikes. I have cats. They're gentle creatures. You know how I know? They don't go around wielding chainsaws. So that's that's a tiny way that I can tell. But I guess the question is, how exactly are you a gentle, exceptional person if your sole purpose in life is to destroy everything you can get your hands on just so you can become richer? I don't know if it's just mass psychosis among the Republicans, but you know what? I don't want to let them off the hook. They just love themselves the fascism. So let's leave it at that, shall we? Thank you so much for joining me for this episode of Trump Trolls Trump. That's me trolling Donald, because it is literally like falling off a log. So thanks for joining me. And we will be back next week, because there is always plenty of material. Please take a second and like and share this video. It'd be awesome if you could subscribe to the channel. If you're listening to us in podcast form, please follow us and give the show a 5-star rating, because it really does help other people find our content. Thanks.